Many times to know that there ain't nothing in the stop order.
Did you see the guy on television that has the aqua rings in Paris?
That'd be different.
You've seen these aqua rings and levies full of water.
Oh, yeah. No, it wouldn't be.
Selling them. Busy as heck. But those things, they store.
I know. Because you rent them or do you buy
I
them?
think he rents them. And you could probably buy them, but a guy like that has to store them for you.
He said something today. I
I guess when it's deflated, it's not too bad. You know? I saw one a couple of years ago by Walmart in the subdivision back there. Somebody had one. That was small. But it wasn't a big one like the one I saw on TV the other day. It was more, like a normal size kind of. But
Hey there, can you grab me
the
one?
other day around some units were built. That's like a big.
Thank you.
Once you're there, you get in and out.
Oh.
Like you got a gate.
Hello, everybody. How we doing? Hello, Tim. Okay, sir? Very good. Hello, Esau.
How for it?
Close the gate. It's encircled by this. It's always there when it's installed.
Stop it.
You look pretty happy up there.
Yo, all too nice.
Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Cavell.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation, Mr. Martin, please.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty Father, we come to you on this day. When the words that you sent to the Pharaoh when Moses asked, who shall I say sent me? And he used the words, I am that I am. Almighty Father, we know you are who you are. We ask that you bless our city and all cities in the state of Louisiana and Texas, that you're about to send your Spirit through. We know that you don't make mistakes, and everything that you do is in God's, shall we say, the look of being in your mercy. We hope and pray that decisions that this council made tonight benefits all, and we ask that you bless all of our citizens, and hope that there is no damages, but we take what you give us, Lord, because you woke us up this morning. We ask this and many other blessings, that you keep us alive, and let us be your leaders on this planet Earth. In Jesus' name I pray. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Thank you, Seb. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Jeff Cavell,
Here.
Greg Ford,
Here.
Frank Prater,
Here.
Bob Overman,
Here.
Vernon Morton,
Here.
Sammy Reggie,
Here.
Kim Stringfellow, here, and Byron Lewis.
Here.
8 members present.
Thank you. Reading of the call, please.
You are hereby notified that a special council meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Crowley will be held on Tuesday, August 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers at 426 North Avenue at Crowley, Louisiana. The purpose of said meeting will be to consider a resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Crowley, Acadia Parish, LA, introducing a proposed ordinance and calling for a public hearing concerning an ordinance amending the budgets for the City of Crowley for the fiscal year beginning September 1, 2019 and ending August 31st, 2020, and to provide for all matters relative thereto and to repeal all ordinances or forms of ordinance inconsistent or in conflict therewith. The notice of call was posted on August 24th, 2020 at 1 p.m. and the call was circulated.
Madam Clerk, do you have anything else to add to that? Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mader now, before we ask for a motion for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno. Let me just say at the outset, I'm here to answer any questions you have, but the reason we're here tonight, I have to take blame for. If I had triggered the budget amendment back in March, people who awarded the contract to Southern Constructors at that time, then everything would have been in place in the budget to pay the contractor's progress. If you remember right, the contractor began the project in the May-June timeframe. You paid partial payment estimate number 1 in June for work done, in July for work done in May-June. You have authorized payment for partial payment number 2 in August for work done in July. And next week, I'm going to bring to you partial payment number 3, which will be paid in September for work done in August. Your auditor informs us, and something I wasn't aware of, it's a little tidbit, is that even though you approved the partial payment estimate number 3 in September, and you cut the check probably in September, that is a fiscal year 1920 budget item, expense item. So I believe that with that in mind, you have in front of you, I think it was sent to you by email, what I show as the partial payment estimates number 1, number 2, and number 3, which are all round numbers for budget purposes. It all comes to a total of $800,000. And I show you how I get to the $800,000 by estimate number 1, again, for work done in May and June that you approved in July. I'm showing a construction contract amount of $285,000. That's right at what you approved. I just didn't show the dollars and the cents. And then each month we're being paid about $5,000 for our basic services, for overseeing the project, putting together partial payment estimates, dealing with the contractor on things day to day. You also have construction observation, which is resident inspection. We do some staking, and we have testing of the materials that are put into place. So you can see, associated with partial payment number 1, the subtotal there is $301,500. And again, round numbers. Partial payment number 2, very similar breakdown. You have construction contract amount of 200, engineering, construction observation, staking, testing, all of those were about what we spent in those months. And that comes to 216,500. And then partial payment number 3, which is for August, and I will be approaching you next week to approve that partial payment estimate at 266,500. All that adds up to about 785,000. I suggest you budget 800,000 through this amendment.
Mr. Prater?
Yes, Tim, and so this money is gonna come out of the half-inch sales tax infrastructure improvement budget? Is that correct? Because aren't we kind of waiting on the bonds for the street improvements so that we can lump it all together? And I guess it'll be, this fund will be paid back? Is that my understanding? Is that correct?
That's 4 questions, and it's all yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is being paid out of infrastructure now. When you authorize a bond issue and the bond proceeds are in the city's bank, you're going to fund or reimburse that fund with the money that you took out for now. And then that bond issue is going to take us through the end of drainage and through street construction.
Okay. That's what I thought. But there's nothing in the proposed budget that we got the other night that indicates anything about any of it.
I don't know, but I can tell you that Erin has requested, and we gave her the budgetary numbers for the drainage project for fiscal year 2021. She got that about a week ago.
Okay, so I was after this one.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin?
All right, Tim. All right, run me through this, run me one-on-one with this, okay? You're saying that the monies that, the amendment that you are asking for is in the 2020 budget?
No, it's going to go in the budget of this year, 1920. It's to amend the 1920 budget.
That's what I'm asking. I mean, as of right now, where would the money have come from? I mean, I understand you said that you thought one thing, but the CPA gave you a different insight?
That was only about partial number 3.
Okay. All right, so number 3, and that's an amount of 266,500?
Yeah, the partial payment estimate to the contractor would be more like about 250,000.
But that's, you're gonna be asking for that at the next meeting, or you asking for that?
No, next meeting,
Okay.
your September
All right.
meetings.
Let's go back to what you're asking for tonight. This money, what fiscal year is this coming out of? Has it been put into the budget?
First of all, the money came from the infrastructure account, but it hadn't been budgeted. We're making it now budgeted in arrears.
Well,
That's what an amendment is. to the budget.
I understand it, but we were presented with a budget that was, whatever the reason was, and this is my opinion, I'm not sure how the rest of my colleagues feel, crammed down our throats. And basically, this was not budgeted for.
Are you talking about the new fiscal year budget?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out, but even in the last year's budget, this was not figured into last year's budget?
It wasn't under contract till March, so it wasn't in the initial budget. But what we'd ordinarily do in a project that comes about at mid-year is we budget it by amendment in the middle of the year. I didn't trigger that with Aaron, and I should have. Well, as soon as you awarded the contract, I should have triggered a budget for the last months of fiscal year 1920, and I did not. So the money was there, but it wasn't in the budget, so tonight we're going to make up for that fact that it wasn't in the budget.
Okay, the most important question, this was already approved by us, correct?
Everything was approved by you.
Okay, that's good enough. I just want to make sure that, man, that is enough, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Stringfellow?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, we already made 2 payments. Where did the payments come from? Did they come out of that infrastructure fund or the general?
Yes, to be precise, you did pay the first one, and it came out of infrastructure. You haven't yet paid the second one, but you're about to. It will come out of the infrastructure fund.
Okay.
And the one I'm going to report to you next week, so you approve it, will be paid out of the infrastructure fund. But the amendment will show it all as a fiscal year 1920
Right.
expense.
Right. And do you have the amount for 2021?
I don't have it with me, but Eric has it.
Okay, all right,
I can send that to you.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Reggie?
I guess a quick question, if we vote no on this, does that mean that it's legislative auditor finding, or does anybody know?
I can try to answer that. I think we are trying to avert a finding, number one. And number two, if we don't do this, I'm not sure how your auditor will tell you to proceed, but I don't want to be in a position where we can't pay the contractor for work he did, because you have a contractual obligation to pay him when he finishes work month by month. So you've already approved 1 and 2. I would be afraid that if you don't approve this, again, it's only an amendment to budget, it's a budgetary, dotting your i's and crossing your t's. If we don't do it, I don't want to be in a position of delaying payment to the contractor. He's got labor and materials and equipment and things that cost him money, and he expects to be paid. I wouldn't want to delay that, because you could come under a legal compromise with him, let's call it, if for some reason he doesn't pay it in the cycle. Remember, he does work in a given month. We issue a partial payment, and he doesn't get paid for about another 30 days. So he's always getting paid for work he did a month ago. If you delay that more than 30 days, it becomes a cash flow problem for him, and he's not going to sit still for that.
Ms. Stringfellow?
And but we pay the first payment without having an amendment, right?
Right, because it wasn't in the budget, because I didn't trigger it.
Mr. Core?
What we're looking at tonight is simply to approve a public hearing for this amendment.
Yes.
So we're not voting on the amendment tonight. We're voting simply to have a public hearing to address the amendment to the budget
As I understand it, Monday is when you'd actually adopt the amendment.
and discuss it
As a public hearing.
and decide at that time. So not tonight. So simply what we're doing tonight is to bring it to a public hearing.
Yes.
That's correct, Brad. Public hearing next Monday, then following the public hearing, we would vote on the amendment. Mr. Martin?
First of all, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm all wore out with all these meetings. Okay, every time we turn around, we gotta stop what we're doing. You understand? Why can't this, I mean, look, enough is enough. You got someone that claims he knows everything about the system, and every time the door opens, the other side always sees a blank screen. Say it down here, read it up.
I'm sorry, there's a special one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
this,
you know when somebody telling
well,
you
good,
something
well,
about this
guess
way.
what, I'm directing this to you, okay? I don't know what,
I know you
what's
don't
going
know.
on, and,
It's evident.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, one of the things that I would like to, and I'll talk to my council members about it, we have a serious problem in finance. There's not a member of Ward 3 on that committee, okay? So, what I'm gonna ask this, I don't know which council member would gladly switch up, but, I want to get on that committee. I want to be in every meeting, because.
You had an opportunity to be on the sewer user fee committee, and you never showed up for a meeting.
That ain't your damn business.
It doesn't matter, but I'm just giving you a point of reference.
Guess
If you
what?
like,
I'll
give me a
make
point of
my
reference. There you
business
go.
to be in your
Good
committee.
point, thank you.
Okay. You know what? And I'm gonna say it to you one more time. You run your mouth at the right time, get in the right place. Okay? You do.
I'm sorry.
I said, you heard what I said.
No, no, speak up, please, I can't hear you.
But anyway,
Steph, I hear what you're saying.
Right.
Those appointments are made by the mayor, though. So,
understand this.
but
Even
I
though
understand
appointments are
what
made
you're
by
saying.
me, okay, we have a right to either accept the appointment or not. Okay? You've been on this council long enough to know that.
And you accept it.
But he has to make the change.
Well, you know what, as far as him, he ain't gonna be here that long to make a change. But anyway, getting back to the point of this. I don't know what's being trying to, and I want to use Ebonics here, what's being trying to be hidden. But every time we have a meeting, it's always in finance. You have y'all noticed that? Always in finance. Always. Okay, he got caught, with the money for legal. Okay? Tried to slip that through. Wasn't even germane to what the topic was. But,
It costs money.
can I finish?
You always doing it to everybody else?
Well, you know what?
I'll tell you what,
Up to 20-year step-isms. What's good for the gander is good for the goose.
Okay, good. Good enough for me too. And I accept that because I'm man enough to handle it. Now, getting back to the other side of this issue. You know, I am one person, and I made it clear to everybody. They tried to call myself, and that's my co-host right there, into a meeting with him, the mayor, and had Tom Reagan there. You understand? For us to try and hide what was going on First Street. And I'm pretty sure, Byron, if you remember that. Okay? When I made the fact, well, why don't you bring it to the full council? You know, it was like, no, we need to handle this now. Transparency is something that's lacking. What I'm going to tell you is this. This council, I'm thinking because I've talked to a few of my council members, we don't trust what goes on behind the scenes. And you're asking us at any time, you're throwing things in front of us, and Tim, without a doubt, what's owed needs to be paid. I agree with that. But if you go back to the cameras, we think it never was paid. At least I thought it was. Okay? You just made a statement, Tim, that really blew everything into proportion. You said that when they do work, they want to get paid. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. But guess what? The police officers using the cameras, and all of them didn't get paid. You understand what I'm saying? All the thing I'm trying to make clear here is this. There's something fishy going on in fiscal. Okay? Ain't no way in the world. I've been on this council I can honestly say decades. And we ain't never had this many meetings. It's always the same thing. Something ain't paid for. Trying to go around Peter to see if Paul peeping across the window. You understand? So you won't walk in front of him. This council, and I say this council because I'm part of this council, needs to be warned way ahead of time when things are not going. Calling these special meetings, and if you notice when you have special meetings, you don't have nobody out there. Okay? I don't know if y'all noticed that. But anytime you hold a special meeting, people are not coming to it because guess what? They looking for what? The first Wednesday, second Wednesday. All right? You don't have a chance for the public to ask the question because the public is not there to ask. Okay? So, enough is enough. And for our illustrious chair, yeah. God bless you, by the way.
well, he has. Thank you.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, look, this is on me. We're here because I didn't trigger something I should have. And I don't do fishy, and I'm not being fishy, and this meeting is not fishy. This is about just clearing up from the state that I made. That's all this is about.
If I may rebut Tim, I didn't say you. You brought a bill to be paid. You see what I'm saying? Anytime you introduce something to be paid, this council needs to know about it. All right? It's always the last minute. All right? It's always the last minute. That's what I'm talking about. Tim, you know I trust you. When you call me and tell me it's raining outside and the sun is 500 degrees out there, I'm going to bring my umbrella because I trust you. Okay? At the end of the day, is what I'm trying to make an understanding is, in the past, we didn't have the tax problem. Whenever there was something to come before this council, as far as budgetary, it was handled. Okay? Whether it was through email or whatever it was, we got a heads up on it, hey, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming. All right? If you want to run a department or committee, please do the due diligence to follow the numbers. Okay? You have to follow the numbers. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
I just want to say I'm going to take partial responsibility for this too, because I knew this project was voted on back in March, whenever it was, when I did the budget amendments, the partial payments hadn't started flowing. I didn't communicate myself with Tim to find out when the partial payments were coming through when I did the amendments. So I think it's a little bit on both of our parts, and Jeff had nothing to do with this. I just want to make that clear. That this didn't even go through revenue and finance. This was on me and Tim and talking to the auditors in looking at the budget numbers on the file. So just want to make that clear.
One more time with the vote, please. Never ever, not one time that I said it was on Jeff. I said the committee. Okay? Anytime numbers come across there and the numbers don't match, If you're supposed to be a steward to numbers, you're supposed to know that 1 and 6 is always 7. It's not 12, okay? And it's not 3.
Well, I just feel like you were talking about that this didn't even go to the committee is what I'm talking about. This is something that we came upon Monday when we were talking, having an auditor question.
I understand that. This is just one issue. We can go back to 20 other issues way before this.
Name the 19.
All right, anyone else? Then I would ask that we make a motion.
Don't let me know now.
I-
Get on my last nerve, okay?
Please,
Want to be a smart ass.
I would like y'all to make a motion for a resolution for Monday, August 31st for the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on it?
Just to clarify, this is for the public hearing, and we will have this discussion continue.
Yes, you'll have the public hearing, and then we will vote on the amending the ordinance, but you will have discussion before you vote.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Oh. All right, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Jack Cavell,
Yes.
Brad Ford,
Yes.
Clint Prater,
Yes.
Lyle Fogelman,
Yes.
Vernon Martin. Point of order. Are we voting to make sure that the guy that under work get paid?
It's just for the public hearing next week.
Okay, I want this guy paid. Okay, so I'll rescind my nay vote and I'll put a yes, because these people need to get paid. Thank you.
Sammy Reggie,
Yes.
Kim Stringfellow,
No,
and Byron Lewis.
No.
6-2.
Okay, motion carries. And the public hearing will be next Monday at 6 o'clock. Any other business to come before the council?
One other thing, Mayor Pro Tem. Is my understanding that each department head is voted on by this council, correct? Am I correct?
We confirm them still,
Well,
yes.
yes, well, confirm the
Yes.
vote, but he and me. Okay, well, I asked the reference something to be here tonight, and I didn't overstep my bounds, I called the insurance personnel. Kim, you remember the conversation that we had? Okay, it's not here. I want to let the council know, maybe a couple of meetings ago, I had a gentleman out there that has a lawn care service in the demolition group. This man stopped what he was doing in Vermilion Parish to come and help us out. If y'all remember, I asked Tony the simple question. How many jobs needs to be out there, whether it's weeds or the demolition or whatever? Is it closer to 50 or closer to 0? His reply was closer to 50. And that's going all the way back to 2014, okay? If I'm not mistaken. What I asked was very simple. I asked for a list of all the houses, addresses, whether it's weeds, that's been condemned or what have you. I'm pretty sure y'all read in the paper the police jury's adoption of an ordinance. I've been preaching about that ordinance since day one over here, because I was one of the ones that helped write this thing with the LMA, the Blight Property Ordinance, okay? We don't have to be, every time the grass needs to be cut, waiting 30 days, because now the grass was 2 feet, now it's 6 feet. You understand what I'm saying? More labor, more money, and God knows, more complaints. All right? I rode around Crowley today. I just happened to have a chance to ride. We were together at the shelter and on yesterday, and I was talking to some of the people. I had a chance to ride around. There's nowhere in the world you're going to get anything done if you go from bottom down. I don't care who you are. Only way you're going to eliminate a problem is you have to go from bottom up. You take the last one and get it out of the way, because we voted on this. It was condemned or whatever to be abolished. Taken down So there shouldn't be no letters going out. Okay, that's a dereliction on the city. Do y'all agree with me? I mean, we approved it to come down. We approved but what happened? Well, I sent out a letter. Hey, man, if I know somebody bothers me with a letter, I'll give a doggone Donald Trump or Barack Obama come and bring the letter to me. I'm going to refuse it. Okay? It just ain't happening. It's time for us to come together. The ordinance was passed by the police jury, and they get rave reviews about it. Okay? Only thing that I'm asking is, and I'm going to ask you to put it on the agenda, that we take it. I don't know if they had a chance. Are you ready to send out to everybody? No. Well, I'm whatever you can. Jennings has the same ordinance that they adopts. They go knock it down, and like I used to tell my employees, you're fired, come back with a lawyer. That's how simple it is. Okay? It's time for Crowley to do our job. We got a person in place. That's whatever the reason is, he wanted help, we got him help. Okay? So I don't know what's going on. What more can we do? So maybe we need a change of department heads. Okay?
Steph, I think first thing for like what you said is to have it put on the agenda for committee and code enforcement next month.
I'm just giving it a
Yes.
fine. That's all.
I don't know who was first. Mr. Cavell,
I move to adjourn.
Mr. Crater.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing, Steph. There's only, the budget that we received, there's only $50,000 for the demolition. So if we're gonna be aggressive and start tearing down houses, then that's gonna have to be addressed before the
Are you
budget
kidding me?
is approved.
50,000?
There's 50,000 in the budget that we saw now. I think there's another budget being worked on, but that's all the money that's in there right now. So I don't know how many houses we can tear down for $50,000.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Do we have a second for adjourn? Thank you.
Hey, Barry. So we need to put $50,000. It's gonna take that to tear down. Okay?
I got it back.
Can you tell the reason why I'm voting?
No, I know.
We're gonna look at it. I want all this discussion with the public. I mean, look at it.
Yeah, I know what's gonna pass.
I got to go pick.
Look, everybody else, please be safe tonight. Hey, look, Brad, don't be riding around in the police cars tonight. I don't want to hear about it. Oh, be checking on you. You know you let me get out there. Oh, you know us. Look at me, Steph. You gonna ride with me? I said, let me get you.
Oh, no, I know. Jeff, I understand. I understand.
I think we're gonna open tomorrow.